Hi there. I suppose the Church of Nowhere would actually quite like other humanist churches, of which the Church of Scientology would be one. I'm actually quite a fan of Scientology, but of the Church of Scientology, not so much, or at least I'm pretty skeptical about them. Um, Without going into that in great much detail, the reason why I like Scientology, which is a sort of positive message, is that it seems to me to be one of the few healing modalities which actually gets to the nub of the problem. And I want to illustrate this problem. And this, by the way, would sort of be part one of this video because it is rather long and it involves me talking about a dream that I had the other night. Sorry, dreams. Are they very boring? Other people's dreams? Yes, they probably are. But this is just like has a relevance, I suppose, to something which could be developed within the Church of Nowhere. Anyway, to get back to Scientology, to illustrate the fact, I want you to imagine that there's this fantastic ballerina, and she's brilliant. She started training to be a ballerina when she was about 5 years old. She's absolutely talented, wonderful, wonderful person. Very hardworking, very professional, very successful. But there is a fly in the ointment of this a great professional because she wants to. She either has a ballet that she wants to dance in and be the star of, the principal ballerina, and she also wants to pull off a sort of triple pirouette kind of thing, which is really difficult movements in ballet. I understand, or something along those lines, and she never quite makes it. She never gets it right, or at least I mean she's pretty hard on herself anyway. But she never succeeds, and she never feels happy about her performance, and also she never quite has that X factor, which means that she gets to be principal ballerina. She's never actually starred in the in a famous ballet, and because she just somehow misses, and she's such a hard worker and so professional, and so potentially good. I mean, when you're at that level, you are good. You are one of the untouchables anyway, really. But she's never really recognised as having, as I say, the X factor. And this frustrates her, obviously, and she does all this sort of CBT and goes to counselling and all this kind of stuff, and has a lot of professional coaching and counselling, and cheerleaders cheering her on, and her family are very supportive and everything. But little do the family know. She's never told the family that unfortunately, when she was growing up, I don't know, at some particular age, she was sexually abused by somebody, and this, obviously, as they say in the literature, sexual abuse for children is traumatic, which is to state the very obvious, and she has this vague memory of the abuse, not entirely formulated, but pretty formulated. I mean, she does realise what happened. She just can't talk to anyone about it at all. And there's nobody that she has enough trust for, really. And she has a deep underlying mistrust of people, as you might imagine. And it isn't really that. It's just simply that she can be dancing away, or training, or listening to music, or I don't know, even in a social situation, and she likes the look of a boy and wants to chat him up, or wants to be chatted up, and everything's going all right, and the training's going all right, and the preparation for the ballet is going fine, and or she's got an audition coming up, and she's fairly confident, but Then something happens, and her memory is directed back to this traumatic incident in her life, and she just can't shake it, and she can. There's something about that incident, the trauma of it, which seems to trip her up. I mean, not totally in a dance. She doesn't actually literally trip in a dance. She'd never do that because she's trained professionally. But something from this memory comes and haunts her. Usually haunts her just as she's doing a triple pirouette or auditioning for the principal ballerina part. And something comes up, and it's like I mean, obviously, it sucks her self-esteem, destroys her self-confidence, but like fleetingly, momentarily. It's not like an ongoing, I'm a useless ballerina, because she knows she isn't. But just at the moment of when she's required to give that X factor, she's required to give that 110%, as they say, and she reaches for it within herself, and it's not there, because the memory of the sexual abuse is, you remember, I don't know if you know Harry Potter films and books, but the Dementors, they have this nasty habit of sucking energy out of people, and they can actually kill people by this means. But somebody describes how it is to be attacked by a Dementor, and it is as if all the good in the world, all the good in yourself, is sucked out of you. And in particular, all the good in the world, which I think is a brilliant phrase. It's not just the good within you, it's the good within the whole world. It's the whole world becomes grey and dead and defeated and destroyed by the Dementors. And this is what's happening with this ballerina. The memory of the trauma, the memory of the sexual abuse, at a crucial moment, whenever she's on stage, especially auditioning, it comes upon her, and she just doesn't reach the X factor because of this, and she doesn't, something happens. She reaches, like, I don't know, 90%. But it isn't enough to secure her the principal ballerina position. It isn't enough to convince the people auditioning her that she's got what it takes to be world class. I mean, she's class, all right, but she's not world class. And yet she's frustrated because she feels that she has the X factor in her. It's just that every time, she steps up to the plate, it's like as if the plate isn't there, and she isn't there, and the world isn't there, and everything that's good in the world is sucked out by the memory of this appalling abuse. Um, and that's the sort of thing. Now, of course, to put it in simple terms, this abuse, the memory of it, is literally hardwired in her brain by this stage. I mean, it happened a long, long time ago. And you'd think, oh, well, you'd be over that and snap out of it, sort of thing. It's all in the past. The past is a different country. They do things different there, and all these platitudes come bubbling out. And she knows all these platitudes and CBT stuff. She knows it all, but it just doesn't go away. I mean, it's like the brain is hardwired, and it's linked to self-esteem and self-confidence because, of course, at the crucial moment when she's trying to do this triple pirouette or whatever, or going for this audition, it freezes her. It sucks all the self-confidence out of her at that crucial moment. And of course she wants to get rid of it. To her, it's like an ulcer. It's like almost like a tumor, an emotional tumor, right deep inside her. And because it's hardwired, she's tried everything to shake it, and nothing will shake it. Not till, well, she's never been able to talk to anyone about it, which perhaps is half the problem, I suppose. But she just feels even if she did talk about it, it just still wouldn't go away. It would still be there. In fact, it would perhaps even become worse, prodding around in her deep pain. She feels it would affect her performance even more, and it'd be detrimental to her practice and everything. She couldn't even. She might have to give up being a ballet dancer. It might all just collapse around her, and she's terrified of that. I don't think she need be terrified of that because I think that it would be all right, but she is, and so she's got this hardwired memory channel going right back into her childhood. And basically, it seems to me that Scientology comes along and it literally breaks that hard wiring. It literally enables her to reprogram her brain, so that although obviously you can't undo the past, the emotional charge of what happened to her is reduced to practically zero, as a result of strenuous reprogramming of her neural pathways, which could be literally done by chemicals or surgery, but which Scientology represents an existential surgery, if you like, a means of existentially getting rid of this association between self-confidence and self-esteem and this terrible thing that happened to her in the past, which sucks all that self-esteem and self-confidence away from her, out of her, as I said, at the crucial moment of going for this audition. And so it's kind of subtle. She's not shoplifting or stealing cars, or although she feels that she would do if she didn't have a professional career. She feels that she would become a drug addict or a criminal of some kind, because she feels so strongly about it. It's all bottled up inside, and she feels so angry and traumatized, obviously. But it only comes. She can cope with it, 90% of the time. But then she can't cope with it, when she has to cope with it, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Because something is gone from her. Something is stolen of herself, and of course, being an artist, she's she's very sensitive to her inner moods, her existential uh, feelings and attitudes. It makes a difference to her performance because she's so good at what she does, that it becomes, that it becomes the slightest thing that's wrong can throw her out, throw her off balance, literally, um, micro balance, of course, because she's so good anyway. But it follows that, and so she goes to Scientology, and the idea is that they literally reprogram her, so that at the crucial moment when she's gone clear, as the Scientologists call it. It takes a long time. It takes years, in fact, of therapy. But when she gets there, the memory might pop up, but the emotional charge of that memory is almost zero. And then she can take no notice of it, and then she can steam ahead and do her complicated move or her triple pirouette, or she can step up to the plate then. And the idea then is that she fulfills her true potential. You and I would look at her and think there's nothing wrong with her at all, but she knows that she's not fulfilling her true potential, her absolute potential. And when she's gone clear, the idea, the way that Scientology perhaps sells itself to people of this caliber, and obviously they can afford the fees, because the fees in Scientology are very, very, very high. But one presumes that she and her family can afford to pay for the treatment, because they're pretty well off generally, and because they're a professional family and they're all well off for the whole family, So that's the idea, and I still think that Scientology, could actually prove to be very beneficial to this person with this type of problem. There's tons of criticisms of the Church of Scientology. Anyway, and I've always been, critical, if not actually hostile, to the Church of Scientology on many levels, even though I think Scientology itself has an appeal. I sort of kind of believe in it. I think it'd be great if it did work. Do you know what I mean? Because I think of this ballerina, and I think of her abuse, and I think of the fact that nothing seems to shift this emotional tumor that she's got deep within herself, and I sort of have an idea that Scientology could do it. Obviously she's very committed, and she would be very committed to the Scientology program, and which is one of the things. If you're not committed to any program of psychotherapy, it's not going to work. You really, really got to want to get better. So the motivation would be very high. And if you like, Scientology would be the thing that would just push you over the edge, and mean that your commitment to getting better meant something. had a strong vessel to pour. And if you think of the actual therapy, psychotherapy, it could be any psychotherapy, it needn't be Scientology, but if you think of any sort of psychotherapy or anything, or hypnosis or something like that, then her motivation to get better is poured into this vessel, but the vessel is strong enough, to take the enormous amount of motivation that she's got to get better. um, you know but of course I know what you're going to say, that she's so ambitious, that the problem is that her ambition to be a great ballerina is one of the problems that she's got. It isn't just the childhood trauma; it's the fact that she puts so much store about being successful. And that may be a factor. But I'm sort of thinking to myself that maybe she's counted this factor in, and that she's got a humble attitude and she's not over ambitious. She is realistic. As I say, she's done all the CBT stuff, and she knows that over ambition is a bad thing, and she knows it doesn't matter, that people will still love her even if she is not the top ballerina that she would like to be. She knows that it's not her. The abuse didn't come from her family ever. They were always lovely and supportive. But she should have talked to them, of course. She should have talked to them at the time. She should talk to them now. But something in her just doesn't want to do that for whatever reason. Which maybe is part of the problem. So I'm not saying Scientology is a panacea, because I think in this case, the ballerina has got to talk to somebody. She's got to maybe talk to her family, who are so loving and supportive normally. Who would be appalled and shocked and dismayed and absolutely sickened to their stomachs by the abuse that she might talk to them about. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like they would say, "Oh, pull yourself together, it's just a bit of sexual abuse." I mean, no, they would be appalled by it. But so I'm not saying Scientology was the only thing. There would be a number of factors that would come into play, including physical health and things like that, which she perhaps has neglected because if she is so dedicated to training and she trains too hard. But she knows all this. She knows she shouldn't train too hard and all this. So I'm just saying that maybe Scientology, I have a kind of idealistic attitude that maybe Scientology, or something similar to Scientology, would be what this woman needs to actually get over her deep psychological trauma. So in part two, I'm going to explore my dream. I have a dream about Ron Hubbard and the Church of Scientology, which I think is quite interesting and quite relevant to perhaps what the Church of Nowhere might consider as being important.